We all remember the mistakes of Iraq.
This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
He's got a sea of orcs and goons who have no idea how anything is working at all.
I find the actions of our Prime Minister frankly pathetic.
They say if you don't learn from history, you're bound to repeat it. But Keir Starmer has a different problem. He knows the lessons of Iraq by heart, but his allies are forcing him to ignore them. He is doing everything he can to avoid becoming the next Tony Blair, but between Trump's demands and the reality of a new war, he's running out of room to move. So what's happened so far, and what could happen next? Let's take a look. The UK is trying to walk a very careful line. After the United States and Israel launched strikes on Iran on the 28th of February, Keir Starmer made clear that the UK was not getting involved. No British aircraft took part, no British assets were used, and the Prime Minister stressed that the UK would not join what he called an offensive action against Iran.
We were not involved in the initial strikes on Iran, and we will not join offensive action now.
But that position has now shifted.
The only way to stop the threat is to destroy the missiles at source, in their storage depots or at the launchers. The US requested permission to use British bases for that specific and limited defensive purpose, because they have the capabilities to do so. Yesterday evening, we took the decision to accept that new request.
Iranian retaliation across the region is what changed Starmer's calculation.
I know that people are worried sick about their family and friends who are caught up in this, about the impact on our lives and our economy, and about the potential for even greater escalation. There are an estimated 300,000 British citizens in the regions, residents, families on holiday, and those in transit. Iran has hit airports and hotels where British citizens are staying. It is deeply concerning for the whole House and the whole country. And, Mr. Speaker, our armed forces are also being put at risk by Iran's actions. On Saturday, Iran hit a military base in Bahrain with missiles and drones. There were 300 British personnel on the base, some within a few hundred yards of the strike. Last night, a drone hit RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus. It is my duty, the highest duty of my office, to protect British lives. That is why we put British jets in the air, Typhoons and F-35s, as part of coordinated defensive operations, which have already successfully intercepted Iranian strikes.
The British Prime Minister has been explicit about one thing. This is not Iraq.
I want to be very clear. We all remember the mistakes of Iraq, and we have learned those lessons.
That reference is pointed. Back in 2003, when Starmer worked as a human rights barrister, long before entering Parliament, he publicly warned that engaging in armed conflict in breach of international law was a precarious business. That history matters now. The government says allowing the US to use British bases is lawful under self-defense, arguing that destroying missiles before launch is necessary and proportionate. What the UK has avoided saying directly, though, is whether it believes the original US and Israeli strikes were lawful. That ambiguity from the government isn't casual, it's deliberate. Politically, Starmer is under pressure from all sides. The leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, has accused the government of being too scared to take a stronger stance on Iran.
It took Iranian missiles hitting allies in the Middle East and threatening tens of thousands of British nationals across the Gulf before the Prime Minister finally climbed off the fence. Iran's regime has funded international terrorism, attacked British nationals, brutally repressed its own citizens, and continues to try to develop a nuclear weapon. And yet, even this morning, the Foreign Secretary still can't say if the Labour government supports action against Iran.
Reform UK's leader Nigel Farage has said the Prime Minister is a follower, not a leader.
I do believe the American president and the Israelis are right in what they're doing, and I find the actions of our Prime Minister, or the inactions, perhaps I should say, of our Prime Minister, frankly pathetic.
On the other side, the Liberal Democrats and Greens warn Britain risks being dragged into another Middle East conflict and are demanding a parliamentary vote.
Dragging the UK into another illegal war does not make us any more safe. It's really important that there's a vote in the House of Commons, and also we immediately withdraw permission for the US to use UK bases. We need to think about our own national security, keeping people in this country safe, and Keir Starmer being totally subservient to Donald Trump doesn't do that.
Within Labour itself, there is unease. Since 7th October 2023, divisions over Middle East policy have only sharpened. And the recent Green by-election victory in Gorton and Denton was seen by some in Westminster as a warning that foreign policy can spill directly into domestic politics. Internationally, Starmer is balancing alliances. The UK is moving alongside France and Germany, the so-called E3, who have accused Iran of carrying out indiscriminate and disproportionate strikes. Then, there is Washington. Donald Trump reportedly expressed frustration at the delay in granting base access, saying it took far too long and that he was very disappointed in Starmer.
I will say the UK has been very, very uncooperative with that stupid island that they have, that they gave away and took a 100-year lease, and they ruin relationships. It's a shame. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
That sharp rebuke from Trump highlights the diplomatic tightrope Starmer is walking. Britain wants to remain a close US ally, but without appearing signed up to a broader agenda that includes talk of regime change in Tehran. So where does that leave the UK? Not at war with Iran, but not neutral either. Instead, Britain is presenting itself as a defensive partner, allowing limited use of its bases to intercept what it sees as an immediate missile threat, while resisting deeper military involvement. The risk, of course, is that limited involvement can expand. That is the shadow cast by Iraq over every decision. For now, Starmer's message is clear.
We are supporting the collective self-defence of our allies and our people in the region, because that is our duty to the British people. It is the best way to eliminate the urgent threat and prevent the situation spiralling further. This is the British government protecting British interests and British lives.
But whether that line holds if the conflict widens is the real question.